Faster cars started in 1920s due to the prohibition. Moonshiners and bootleggers were in need for faster cars, so they started to modify their own car to outrun the police. By 1949, the very first muscle car came out. That was the Oldsmobile Rocket 88. What made it a muscle car? Well, it was a light chassis and its V8 engine. As time went by, these cars became more and more efficient, and now the raw American power can be bought by just about any average American. Here are my top 7 American muscle cars are under 5K, and the last one I know you will not expect. First, we have the 1984 to 1996 C4 Corvette. 1984 was the second largest production year in Corvette's history. This generation was the first to really put in place a more futuristic design compared to its predecessors, and people loved it. The 1984 to 1988 Corvettes are by far the cheapest and the most unwanted Corvettes on the market today. In the 84, this underpowered 350 V8 produced 205 horsepower and 230 horsepower in 1985 with softened suspension. In 89, the Corvette finally came out with the much desired 6-speed manual transmission. And as of 92, the Corvette replaced that slug of an engine with an LT1 engine with 300 horsepower that really transformed the car from a grandpa car to a car people could really push its limits with. So if you're looking for this LT1 powerhouse, look for 1992 and up. In 97, the C5 Corvette came out, and those are about 2 to 3 times the price. If you're wanting an affordable GM American Corvette, this is the best bet. Number 2 is the SM95 Mustang GT from 94 to 2004. 1994 marked its 30th birthday for the Ford Mustang. This new 4th gen Mustang came out on an all-new Fox 4 or SM95 platform. This Mustang not only looked significantly different, but it drove much differently as well. For the early year, the Mustang held a 3.8 liter V6 and the 5.8 liter V8. Of course, you have to grab the 5 liter American horsepower V8, which generated 240 horsepower. In 95, it was the last year Ford used the 5 liter engine. Finally, in 1996, Ford came out with its 4.6 V8 2-valve engine. And the Cobra for the liter had a 4.6 liter dual overhead cammed aluminum V8, which has 205 horsepower. In 98, the V8 had a power increase to 225 horsepower. 1999 is finally here, the year to throw out that bubbly body and put in place a revolutionary new edge design that really put the Mustang kind of back on the map. This Mustang is still on the SM95 platform, but for some odd reason, people in general just don't think to call this new edge Mustang an SM95, yet it is still an SM95. I don't know. This new edge Mustang has all new exterior features like sharp designed lines, aggressive stance, new grille, hood, and new lights all around the car. As of 2002, GM ended their production of their sports cars due to the popularity of SUVs. Yet the Ford freaking Mustang was the survivor. The new Edge Mustang made 260 horsepower and has about a 5.6 second 0 to 60. I have a new Edge Mustang, and one of the first things you need to do is upgrade the suspension. If you don't upgrade the suspension, you literally feel like a boat going around corners. The 2-valve V8 engine is the raw sound of American muscle. 1993 to 2002 4th gen Pontiac Firebird. This marked the last generation for the Pontiac Firebird. This is by far the fastest and most powerful Firebird since the good old glory days. But since the SUV market is booming, the Firebird had to go. The debut of the 1993 Firebird showed a dramatically changed design to ensure that the car will be aerodynamic. Much of the floor pan and the rear suspension was carried over from the previous generation, but all of the front suspension was new. The 5.7 liter LT1 with 275 horsepower was standard in the Formula model and the Trans Am model. These cars were, and still are, pretty dang badass. If you can find the 96 WS6 model with its Ram Air cold air intake like the one in this ad, then you will be getting a Firebird with 305 horsepower. All of these years are awesome choices. Which now leads me to the 2000s Camaro Z28. The Camaro was born with a Firebird and they died together in 2002. However, the Camaro came back in 2009 and the Trans Am came back as a new branded company called Trans Am Depot, where they make supercar power Trans Ams, which are pretty awesome. The Camaro was pretty much the same as a Pontiac Firebird for this last generation, except it did not have the ram air system adding 15 more horsepower, like the Trans Am WS6 did. But besides that, they were pretty much clones. The Camaro is worth less and not nearly as wanted as the Firebirds. And that's all I have to say about that. 2008 Dodge Charger Police Interceptor. Dodge in the early 70s were the main company producing vehicles to the police agencies all around America, with their black and white Dodge Monaco. But since then, the company went front-wheel drive, and police agencies didn't want that. Not until they brought back the 2008 Dodge Charger that has a cop motor, cop tires, cop suspension, cop shocks, and this rear-wheel drive beast is finally put back into the streets for the forces. Now, what does that mean for us, the consumers? Well, we can find these 340 horsepower 5.7 liter V8 engines under our $5,000 budget. But this is probably the cheapest and the best route that you can grab a 300 plus horsepower car under $5,000. 1979 through 1993 Fox Body 5.0 liter Mustang. This third gen Mustang was the first to be built on the Fox platform, and the platform is lighter from the previous generation by 200 pounds. In 1980, Ford dropped the 302 V8 and stuck in a underpowered 255 V8 that has a whopping of 119 horsepower. In 81, with new emission standards, put this engine into an all-time low with 115 horsepower. In 82, Ford finally brought back the power with the GT model and the 5.0-liter V8 that has 157 horsepower, and it was the return of the T-top. In 83, the horsepower went to 175 horsepower. In 85, Ford came out with a HO high output motor that had 210 horsepower. Now in 86, the Mustang had enough with its carb and for the first time went multi-part fuel injection and pushed the horsepower to 225 horsepower. So if you're wanting the most modern Fox body with some true power, 1986 is the earliest you can grab. The Fox body muscle car is crazed about in today's day and age, and it really stands out amongst all cars in my opinion. 1978 to 1987 fifth generation Chevrolet El Camino. When most people think of muscle cars, they think of a Camaro, a Mustang, or typically a Firebird. But the El Camino is something I bet most of you would have never guessed to be on this list. Debuted in 1959 and ended in 1987. By no means were these car trucks fast, but with the rumble of the 1978 engine, they sounded fast. The El Camino had an option for a V6 and a 305 V8 that has 150 to 165 horsepower. In 79, the El Camino received a Chevy 350 and 170 horsepower. Not a huge upgrade, but an upgrade nonetheless. And they also had a new redesign that gave the truck car a new look, basically just small changes. These also had a 3 and 4-speed manual transmission, which is pretty cool. These muscle car trucks are amazing, and I had the pleasure to drive and work on one with my brother. Although they were very slow and heavy, the exhaust makes up for all of that. You can find all kinds of El Caminos ranging in our price range. What would you all pick out of these crazy muscle cars? I think I would grab the El Camino and slap an LS crate motor in it. Turnkey. Only issue is that the rear end is so light. And if you have the time, go ahead and check out one of these videos. This is Chris at AutoMotivate. Always appreciate one another. I'll see you next time.